Hey, what's up, everybody? It is VaShaun Jones, visionary of Fedora Outlier LLC. And so I got this question from one of our members inside of the Mac Master series who got a computer, and she got it from her state rehabilitation agency. It was a MacBook Pro, I believe, and it was already set up. And so she didn't get the experience of being able to have her computer delivered to her. She can take it out of the box and actually set up VoiceOver and configure it the way that she wanted. And she said, what is that experience like? So, of course, I contacted our friends over at Apple, and I had them to send us a MacBook. And we're going to unbox it today, from delivery all the way to using VoiceOver to get to your desktop as a newbie. And we're going to do that, or we should be able to do that without sighted assistance. It's there. I do have my handy dandy daughter with me just in case stuff does go wonky, and we'll get through it. So, as you can see, I'm able to open that. And inside of this box, of course, there's going to be another box, which is the actual MacBook here, as you can see, and it's wrapped in cellophane, brand spanking new. I'm going to grab a knife. Hopefully I don't cut myself. I'm going to make a little surgical incision there. It's a little slippery. Oh, there we go. I'm going to tear off the cellophane. Turn the box the correct way, and so I'm going to open this up, and voila, set the box down, and what we have is a brand spanking new MacBook Silver, the highest specs that Apple makes. And additionally, in the box, what we have is the power cord. This, of course, has the USB-C connection, which is the latest connection by Apple, so it doesn't look like your typical Mac charger. Then, of course, we have the instructions. I don't need them. And rather than try to take this thing out, is you have the charging dock that looks pretty much similar to what you have with your iPad. And so I'm going to hopefully not need to charge anything. And the MacBook comes all wrapped up in this nice little plastic cover here. I'm going to take that off. And I'm going to open up the MacBook for the first time ever in life. Happy Born Day. I'm going to take off the sheet of paper that's covering the actual screen. And the key layout is a bit different, a little bit more compressed on the MacBook here. This is actually my first time touching one, so I'll get familiar with the keyboard just a little bit. Alright, and the power button hopefully is right here, so I'm going to press it. And there you have it, the Apple sound, and everything is coming on. It should be fairly quick because it does have a super fast processor, SSD hard drive. And at this point, we should be at the login screen. So what I'm going to do is press Command 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are no bump dots on here as of yet. So
language chooser, window, language chooser, table, row 1 of 34.
So what we have
selected has keyboard focus.
Is VoiceOver.
To enter this table, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
Already started for me with Command F5. So right out of the box, any Apple product on the market currently today, you're able to turn on with either Command F5 or a triple tap or using Siri on iOS to turn on VoiceOver. So what it's asking me now is what's my language, and so I'm going to choose English.
Button. Continue button. Language chooser, table, row 1 of 34. Use English or the main language. Selected.
It's already selected.
Continue button.
So I'm going to press continue.
Press authentication. Application.
And as it loads up the English keyboard and everything else,
VoiceOver on Setup Assistant. Window. Show all. Unchecked checkbox has keyboard focus. You are currently on a checkbox. To select or deselect this checkbox, press Control, table, row 1 of 10, world map, in just welcome.
All right, so we get the welcome dialog.
Just a few steps, you can register and set up your Mac.
It's asking me to register and set up my Mac.
World map image, table, row 1 of 10, United States, selected.
And we are in the United States, so I'm going to let that stay selected.
Show all back, continue button.
Press continue.
Press continue button. You are currently on keyboard image.
So now it's asking me for the keyboard layout.
Choose a keyboard layout. You are currently on a table. To enter this table, show all. Uncheck keyboard layout. Enter image. US.
So I'm going to choose the US keyboard.
Stop it. Show back. Continue button. Press continue button. You are currently on continue button. Back but other network table. No selection.
Now it's asking me for the network.
If you connect to the internet using
for Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi table, no select interact direct TV underlined upgrade direct FOs Bravos. You are currently.
And I tell you what, I'm not going to actually skip that because we're not going to need it for the setup. But clearly, it's accessible. It's asking me for which network I want to choose. I choose the network. I'm going to enter in my password, and then I'm connected to the internet. But I'm going to actually skip this part for the sake of our time.
Block Wi-Fi direct block Wi-Fi all block Wi-Fi icon with hashtag interact with the password. Secure edit password edit text. Network enter the name of the network. Table no select other network options. Back continue button. Back other table no selection. Wi-Fi icon image table other back continue button. Press continue button. Continue default go some service setup assistant. Are you sure you don't want to set?
And so it's asking me in setup if I am sure that I don't want to use this particular feature, and it's telling me that some opportunities will be grayed out because I didn't connect to the internet, but that's fine.
Some services require an internet. Go back. Continue. Default button.
So I'm going to.
You are correct. Continue. Dimmed button.
Continue.
Continue. Back. Other net. Select your. If you connect to the internet, don't transfer any information out. Selected. Radio button. 3 of 3.
All right. So now it's asking me, do I want to transfer information from another Mac or volume? And I'm going to tell it no. Usually when I set up a new Mac, I do have multiple computers, and I'll use the setup assistance and migration assistant to merge everything into this computer that I actually want. And that is selectable, and you're able to do that in a very accessible way by simply choosing this option. But I'm going to choose no at this time.
Continue button.
And I'm going to continue with the setup.
Button. You are currently on a checkbox. Tap enable location services.
All right, location services, and this allows you to be able to locate your computer, to be able to determine where you're at, different apps use location services, and
Location services allows apps like Maps and services like Spotlight suggestions to gather and use daily, including your location services image. Enable location services on this Mac. Uncheck checkbox.
all right, so it says enable location services on this Mac. Normally, I would check that box and press continue, and that will enable the computer to use location services, and for Spotlight, when you're searching for restaurants, to be able to use location services based on where the Mac is physically at that time, to be able to find things like restaurants and other things, points of interest near you.
Continue button.
I'm going to press continue.
To click, press continue button. You are currently on some features. So are you sure you don't want to use location services?
And now it's asking me, am I sure? And I'm grown, so I'm going to tell it, yes, I am sure.
Some use location, don't use default button. Table, no selection. Important terms and conditions.
All right, so these are the terms and conditions for using Apple products. I'm sure you know that we will not be going into the terms and conditions, because if you say you don't want to use it or you don't accept them, then you don't get to use your computer. So what good is that? You're forced to accept them.
Import table, license, back, agree button.
So I'm going to say agree.
Button. To press agree button. I have read and agreed to the OS 10 software license agreement. You are currently on a text element. Cancel button.
Now, then it forces you to lie, because it says, I have read and agree with the terms and conditions, and I have not read them. But again, in order to move forward, I have to agree to them.
Agree button.
So let's agree.
Button. Full name, edit text.
All right. So now it's asking me for my full name. I'll go ahead and type that in. As soon as I find the handy dandy keyboard. So my name is
V-A-S-A-U-N space VaShaun J-O-N-E-S Jones. User picture button.
I don't want to choose a user picture at this particular point.
Account name. VaShaun Jones is selected account name, edit text.
So it automatically chooses the account name, which will be the name of your computer and your home folder, all of that great stuff.
This will be the name of your home folder. Password. You are currently on a text. Verify password. Secure edit text. You are currently on a text.
Now it's asking me for a password.
Optional back button. Continue button.
I'm going to press continue because I don't want to enter a password at this time.
Press continue button. You are currently on a button. To click to enter, you haven't set up assistance. You have to enter the information. Click go back and check the fields marked with arrows. Go back, default button, new password, secure edit text, closing dialog.
All right, so I tell you what, let's do enter a password because it's forcing me to do it. So what I will choose is I will say Periscope. And of course it's going to ask me
verify password, secure edit text.
To confirm.
Text field. To enter text in this field, type. This is a secure text field. Text typed into this field.
And I did.
Error in optional password error back continue button. Press continue dimmed button.
All right, and so now it is verifying that password and setting it up. And what you guys get to witness is one of the most accessible devices on the planet by Apple for those with disabilities. And I use VoiceOver as a blind person. There are definitely apps and things that aren't accessible, but for the most part, anything that I want to do, from running a firm to my personal life to leisure, I am able to do on my Mac. And as you can see, the setup process is pretty easy to accomplish, pretty easy to set up, and is definitely accessible for those that are visually impaired. Now it's asking me for my time zone. We're in the U.S., but what time zone are we in?
Back, continue button. currently on a button. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space. Continue button. Back, Cupertino, CE, United States, closest city, combo box. You are
all right, so we're in a combo box. I'm going to interact with that because Cupertino is 3 hours behind us.
Interact Cupertino, CE, United States, end of text. Stop it, closest city. Pacific Daylight Time Zone, button. Time zone. Pacific Daylight Time, press PDT time zone, closest city. PDT time zone, button. You are press Pacific, closest city. Cupertino, back, did continue button.
Oh, so this is where your location services comes in at, as well as your internet, because what it will attempt to do is find out where you're located, adjust the time zone, and that button versus Pacific time would say Eastern New York time. But nevertheless, when you do enter your Wi-Fi information as well as location services, which depends on Wi-Fi, then you'll get a different option. But again, it is accessible. I'm going to hit continue.
Continue button. Press continue button. Continue button. Back. About diagnostic help Apple and app developers.
All right, diagnostics. This is where you would help Apple as well as other developers figure out things when you get system crashes. Apple does crash. It is a computer. It's not a super machine outside of any other computer. It just has less crashes and very, 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 very little viruses, if any. And this is a good way to let both Apple and third-party developers know where the bugs are, so they can fix them.
Check. Send diagnostics and usage data to Apple checkbox.
All right, and that's checked by default. I like it. Some people, for privacy reasons, may or may not, so it is optional.
Continue button.
And I'm going to press continue.
Press continue. Continue. Dim button. Setting up your Mac.
All right. And so what we have now is that it's setting up our Mac with the parameters that we chose.
Enter generic display.
And at this point, we should be waiting on our home folder and everything to propagate. Let me just check.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the
and that deep voice that you hear.
Keyboard. If you already know how to use VoiceOver, press the V key now.
Is the VoiceOver tutorial.
VoiceOver on Finder, desktop. You are currently on a scroll area.
All right.
Interacting with the contents of this scroll area, press Control.
So we just went from unboxing a Mac to the desktop, and it was completely accessible. No help from my daughter except for her snickering when she knew that something potentially was not right. And what I found with this particular Mac is that I had to press Command F5 a couple of times to reinitialize VoiceOver. And if you notice, once we got to where you was able to actually use the computer, you have a VoiceOver tutorial that you can always go back to with Control Option F8 if ever you want to go through that tutorial. And that's where we start people at Fedora, the VoiceOver tutorial. You master that. It's like steps. You're able to start from the beginning, walk up the steps, and eventually get to the top. And that's how we teach mastery in everything that we do. So this has been a special edition of the Mac Master Series. You can find out more about the Mac Master Series at macmasterseries.com. and iOS Master Series at iOS Master Series, as well as Apple Watch at applewatchmasterseries.com, teach.institute, and fedoraoutlier.com, everything, all things Fedora. Look out for more tutorials of the such. If you have any questions, just email us at excellence, EXCELLENCE, at fedoraoutlier.com. And I am here as the visionary with my baseball cap on, sitting at my dinner table, unboxing the Mac to satisfy a client, a customer, as well as a friend of Fedora and the firm who wanted to know what is it like, what is the experience to set up their Mac from the beginning on their own as a blind person, and you just seen it live. So, as usual, let's change the world. Let's set up more Mac computers, iOS devices, Apple Watches, Apple televisions, and routers, and everything, all things Apple. And let's change the world together.